Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Tackle Shop Live. What's up, Scott Lockoff? Robert Donahue, how are you? What's happening? Mark, what's going on, man? How you doing? Wow, what do you got to show for you guys? And it is all about you guys. Yes, yes, yes. How's everybody doing? What, Mike Hayer, how are you, buddy? Philip, good. What's up, man? How you doing? George, what's happening, George? Dave Schottlemeyer, Ben Buckhunter. Hey, Ben, how are you? Don Roeder. Man, Don's down in Florida right now. He just got there today, hanging out in the hot sun. Well, I guess it was cold down there, but Don's going to be down there for 2 weeks fishing. Yo, brother, shout out. Good for you, Don. Yeah, man. Mike Barr, how are you? Eric Kurt, what's going on? Kenny Hodgins. Kenny was in today. How you doing, Kenny? Good to see you, buddy. Dale, how are you? Vince Dart, how are you, buddy? Logan Schellenberger. Raymond Barton. Well, let me tell you, we have a good show for you guys tonight. George is picking out some stuff. He's a little behind the gun, but my name is Mike Acord. George is running around here. Everybody knows George Acord. He's the mayor. And behind the camera is cameraman Nick. How are you, Nick? What's going on, buddy? You're doing good?
I'm doing real good.
Yeah.
Glad to see everybody. I hope everybody got a chance to watch pre-Tackle Shop Live.
Yeah.
And we set everything up. And how are you doing, Mike?
Man, I'm doing great. I am doing just great. I had a great day today. We got, Nick, we've got so much tackle in this shop. It is unbelievable. We are busting at the seams. I am so excited for the year. I'm so excited that we have all this stuff for all of our customers. I mean, it is crazy the amount of tackle we have in here. George has been spending money like it's going out of style. It's all good, though, because I think it's going to be tough to get it again. And we're going to have it.
And I was just going to say that, Mike, you know, everybody I talk to that either comes in the shop or I see outside of here, they say how much you guys have.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're always stocked up and they're like, you know, nobody else has it.
No, you're exactly right.
And, you know, a testament to you and George and keeping it going. It's awesome. Awesome.
Well, I got to hand it to George. It's a lot of work. I mean, he's really been busting it to get it in here. And we have some really good partnerships with our manufacturers and our reps, you know, over the years. We've been in business for 32 years. So we have some great connections. And it's really showing right now when we really need it. These guys are coming through for us. But, man, we got a 20-box load of Z-Man in. I mean, it's so much Z-Man. It's crazy. It's like a boatload of Z-Man.
I made it.
Yeah, there's George. George is here now, so he's ready to go. But
let the show begin.
Yeah, now we can start. But yeah, I mean, we got
We're a little late tonight, Mike.
We got a big giant Daiwa shipment, Nick. I mean, you should see this. We got all the AGS Elite Series rods back in stock. The regular Elite Series rods are in stock now.
Tatula Elite.
That Tula Elite, yeah.
The silver ones.
Yep, the silver ones. They're all back.
I think we have. Well, I don't think we have every model, but I think we have
most everything. I think
98% of the models back in stock, and they've been out forever.
And the rod everybody was looking for, Nick, was, you know, a couple of guys left Daiwa, and the one was that all-purpose rod from the jig guy who left Daiwa.
No, the skipping rod from Andy Montgomery.
Andy Montgomery. But they're still making it. They're just not calling it the Andy Montgomery rod, but now it's same action, same everything. So I was curious to see how that was all going to turn out. And so everybody who loves those rods, which is a ton of guys, it's a great rod for everything. And back in stock. So we have a few of those rods here.
And a lot of the Daiwa reels, the you know, the Tatula SVs.
Yeah.
The Tatula 100, which is the compact SV.
Yeah.
Not the 100, but the 100 SV.
No, I think it's called the 103 SV Compact.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. It's so confusing.
It's compact.
It's
but-
compact. Yeah.
Well, everything that Daiwa makes is now, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but everything they're bringing out for the next decade is all going to be called Tatula.
Yeah.
If it's a new Daiwa, it's going to be like a Tatula Steez,
Yeah.
a Tatula Zillion, you know,
It's crazy.
a Tatula shirt. I mean, everything's going to be Tatula, but they have a Tatula SV,
Right. Which
103,
we have a bunch of those.
which is the reel that,
started it all.
in my opinion, to put Daiwa back on the map.
Absolutely.
And then they decided they had to have the same exact reel with a slightly smaller frame. So that's the Tatula Compact, but it's an SV. They throw you off by coming out with non-SV versions of the same reels for like $30 less. Not for nothing. Save up the extra $30 because the SV reels are phenomenal casting reels.
Yeah.
Not that the other ones aren't, but the SVs are.
No, right.
So if you're going to Tatula, we got a ton of them in stock. We got another shipment of the limited edition.
Yeah.
I don't know how limited it is because they all of a sudden found a bunch more. That's another thing Daiwa's famous for.
They are. They call it a limited edition. It's only one shipment. And
it's limited until until the check clears, and then they all of a sudden find another limit.
That went over really well. Let's do it again. You know, it's like, okay, well,
stick with what works.
Yeah, now it's called the limited unlimited.
It's a semi-limited.
It's a semi-limited. But yeah, so a couple announcements here. This Saturday, Nick, is Smallmouth Saturday. I am so excited for this. We have a great show planned here. Everything's coming together really well. The tent went up today, heated tent. So you guys don't have to worry about a thing. When we do our seminars, we're going to be nice and toasty in there. You can sit back, kick your shoes off, whatever you got to do, man. It's going to be a really good.
I saw like a homeless guy out there setting up a cot and turning the heat on, man. We may have to go out and and run some people off later tonight.
You might have. And somebody asked there what time they should get there if they want to park here at the shop. Well, you better get here real early.
I'd say 4 a.m.
because guys over the years learned to get here early if they wanted to park right here at the shop.
I think if you get here by 4 a.m., you'll be able to park here
I think that would be. I wouldn't want to get here past 7 a.m. and you know, to get a spot here at the store. But we don't park here at the store, Nick. We all go down there, so we'll free up a bunch of spots for you guys.
It's like a 2-minute commute.
Yeah, it's not that bad, and we got the bass bus. We got the bass bus running, so it's not that bad. It's a lot of fun, and you know, so you shouldn't have any problem getting parking and picked up and all that kind of stuff. We got seminars as usual. I'm doing one. George is doing one. Corbin's going to do one, and we might try to squeeze one more in there if we can. And the other thing that I'm doing is me and George is we invited like all the local sticks, you know, all the local guides were invited to come here and walk around and hang out and talk fishing, you know. So Joe Raymond's going to be here, who's a local hammer. Matt Green is going to be here, who's a great fishing guide up on the Susquehanna, and also Jason Shea's going to be here.
Plus, if I see them all huddled up in the corner talking, I'm going to take a bowling ball and roll it down the aisle and scatter them.
Yeah, we're gonna. Those guys are here. Those guys are here for you. You know, so you definitely want to get here. And then Maggie Fischel's going to be here also, Nick. And she has a great following and a great hell of a fisherwoman. I mean, she's fantastic. So she's going to be here chatting and talking and telling all her stories. So it's just going to be a good time. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Not only is it seminars, not only is it fish and talk, but it's also fish and tackle. And we got all the tackle that you guys are going to need to catch all the big ones this spring. And there you go.
I like that sound.
And you know, things are going to be.
It's been a long day, Nick.
Hey guys, listen. So these seminars, and one of the things that was really cool is when I read your post on Facebook, it said George was doing a seminar on Lake Smallmouth, and it said Mike was doing a seminar.
Yeah.
And Corbin. How long has it been since you guys did a seminar? Are you guys pumped up to do a seminar?
Oh yeah, Well, we've done them a couple 2 years
Hasn't
ago.
been that long,
It's-
actually.
Really?
Yeah, last 2 years ago, we did them here for Smallmouth Saturday, and it was a lot of fun. And you know, uh, river fishing wise, I mean, we're on the river a lot. We don't know everything, and like I tell people, we're always learning ourselves. Me and George are always constantly learning every single day we go out. And if we find a point where we don't learn something, then something's wrong. You got to be learning something every single time you go out. So it's really fun for us to be able to speak our knowledge of what makes us able to catch fish, and we love to do that. We love to help people catch more fish. That's what we've always done in the shop here. So that's what it's all about. We're spilling our guts, man. We don't hold anything back. If you guys ever sat in our seminars, we don't hold anything back. We'll answer any question. We'll help you out with anything we can.
We hold a little bit back. You got to save something for the next seminar.
That's true. But whatever topic we're talking on, we're going to get in depth with it. And mine's going to be on power fishing the river, which doesn't mean just power fishing with the power lures. It means power fishing the river, everything, picking the spots, running the river, making the changes, power fishing, power decision making, and then also power
it's a
lures.
Pretty powerful seminar.
It's a power seminar. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
I recommend for your seminar.
Yeah.
No caffeine products, because if this is
Powerful.
I mean, my seminar is gonna be on reservoir smallmouth.
Yeah.
And even though it's called Smallmouth Saturday, a lot of my techniques will also work well on reservoir largemouth. And I'm going to focus it down onto the pre-spawn through spawn period. As soon as the spawn's over, is when my seminar is going to be over. So I'm going to start let's just say the first quarter. I'm going to talk. No, I mean,
you could do that.
I might go for 2 hours.
He could go for 2 months.
I might go for 2 hours. I mean, I'm just saying.
George could not shut up for 2 hours.
I might do a 2-hour seminar.
He could definitely.
I might do a 2-hour seminar.
He could definitely run for 2 hours.
I might do a 2-hour seminar. When I'm done, people are going to vote for me for governor. They're going to catch more smallmouth, and I don't know. It's going to be awesome. But we're going to be talking about that. I'm not talking like a Tony Robbins freaking motivational speaking engagement here. I'm talking, I sincerely want you to catch more and bigger fish. But what I really want is for you to understand why, when, where, and how. And that's my goal.
And that's what we're going to do.
And that's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
And I'm sure Corbin will go off on some really fine-tuned points. He's a very very
ACOC,
he's
ADC,
really a detail-oriented angler.
CDC.
And
he's got it all, man.
If you sit in on his seminar, you're going to come away with some pretty powerful let's just say angles on your new season. So we're going to be talking about smallmouth fishing on Saturday. And we're going to do some different things.
Yep.
And we'll save the rest for Saturday.
And that's what's always nice, guys. When you come at it from a different angle, which each one of you are, to build your fishing up for your personal self, you need to learn different angles. It can't always be the same thing. So that's awesome. People can open their mind up.
When I go fishing with somebody, man, my ears are like this big.
I know it.
They're like,
I know
what was that? And when I'm running down the lake, man, it's flapping away.
And George, you said you were going for governor. Somebody just voted on you for president in there.
It may happen. It may happen.
Ed Rynowski, how you doing? Johnny Kopp is in Texas, so he's having a good old time. A big old time down there.
He's probably down there slinging on some big Toledo Bend schlonches.
What's up, Rich? How you doing, man? Good to see you, pal. Tammy Geeman, what's up? How you doing? Kevin Herr, how you doing, Kevin? There's a trout slaying son of a gun right there.
Matt Rubo, Any chance you guys can get Ike to the shop? Matt, you missed your chance, brother.
He was here.
Ike was here 2020, because we did not do our spring events in 2021 due to the China flu.
He'll be back.
He'll
be back. We're working on him.
He came in with our good friends from Mullix.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I believe Stefano was also here.
There was two of them here. Stefano
Paulo
and Paulo. Yeah.
Paulo and Stefano were here. They brought Ike, and Ike hung out for the morning. He brought a couple of his entourage. I believe Brian the Carpenter was here. Yeah. So you never know. The 24th, we have a Tackle Shop live guest coming on, Derek Hudnall.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, well, he's in Florida right now for the Elite Series.
Yeah,
where he almost won last year, and where he debuted the Victory Rod. And then he's in Florida next week for the second Elite Series. And then he's gonna call in to Tackle Shop Live. He's all the ways down there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, so he won't be driving up here for the event. And so
we can't live stream our seminars. Doesn't work.
Yeah, we don't have the proper powerful.
We'd love to do it, but it just doesn't work out real well. We're working on something though for down the road that might work for guys who can't make stuff, so we're gonna come up with something there. David Schottelmeyer, how are you doing, pal? Mark Poliski won a
Colin Linton sweating out the last of summer in Australia. Yeah, well, get ready. Down under, you're about to hit winter. And we're about to hit spring. What's your temperature? Average temperature going to drop to like 80?
80, yeah.
in the dead of winter.
Good to have you here, Colin. Thanks so much for stopping.
Thank you for tuning in, Colin.
Yep.
I mean, and Colin, in case you don't know it, Mike and I are both experienced Barramundi anglers.
Oh, yeah.
We have put the beat down on some Barramundi, bro.
Down. Probably
we put a hurting on them one day.
We had some. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to have Kate post those pictures tomorrow
from the Barramundi beatdown.
From the Barramundi beatdown. That was so much fun, and they are the meanest friggin' fish. They don't have any teeth. You can grab them like this.
They have gill plates,
but they shred 50-pound leader. Shred it. You have to use 50-pound leader and retie all the time.
And how much do one of these weigh?
Well, I mean, they're from little to 25 pounds.
Yeah, I guarantee you we caught them up to 15 pounds. I guarantee you. It was something. They fight like crazy, man. And they're like a big giant tilapia.
And they're aggressive. They're like a freshwater snook.
That's right. That's what they're like.
And they're aggressive. They're very, very much a bass-like fish. In Florida, saltwater, they say the snook is very much bass-like. Redfish guys say, when you're redfishing, that's very much bass-like. That's why there's such a big crossover. Well, these dadgum barramundis, they're very bass. I mean, they'll smoke a frog. They'll crush a swim. I mean, I'm telling you, bro, it is legit.
Oh, he's at the Nomad head office right now.
Yo, Colin, we got the first batch of freshwater nomads coming in next week.
Yep.
Maybe I shouldn't have told anybody that, but guess what? I just did. All of them, every SKU, Colin.
Yeah.
We got the we're going to drop the custom end cap up on the wait till you see this thing, Colin. We're going to put some pics up. It's going to be pimped out Nomad headquarters. Stand by, sir.
We're excited about it. So, yeah. So that's Smallmouth Saturday. Don't worry about the parking, guys. You come here, we'll tell you where to go. The bass bus never stops running. It just constantly runs back and forth. If you sit up there for 10 minutes, you're sitting for a long time, maybe 15 at the most.
No, it's constant.
It's just constantly running.
Yeah.
And don't worry, you just go right up to the parking area. It's on our map on our homepage. You can go on there and check it out.
It's real easy.
It's Gladfelter Park, Memorial Park parking, and It's 2 miles from the shop and it's a piece of cake. So don't worry about it.
And if you get lost, just ask anybody in Columbia. They'll tell you where to go.
Yeah. Or come back to the shop and our parking expert.
Unless they look sketchy, don't pull over.
Our parking expert's going to get onto that. So anyway, let's get this show going. We're going to talk about some tournament talk.
Yeah. That's just my game.
Well, you know what's nice, guys. So, when the off season was here, I'd come in and George is doing his thing.
When's the off season?
Well, right before this tournament started.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
you mean their off season?
The last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
I come in here and George has a giddy up in his step.
I love it.
And
He does.
Today I come in here and I hear some weigh-ins going on.
Yeah.
Oh man, and I knew that was right up George's alley.
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, I'm going to burn up some data. I'm streaming like 10 hours a day.
Well, we've been in this shop now since 2014, Nick. And one of our customers,
2013.
November 2013, we moved in. And one of our customers who you know really well, Ryan Bauman, stopped in.
Oh yeah.
And he's sitting here and he's like, why don't you have the tournament on the TV? And I'm like, man, I got to drag my laptop out here. I got to do this. I got to do that. Well, he says, when that an internet TV? And I'm like, oh, hell no. I bought it for like $300 like back in 2012, and he's like, and I showed him the remote and he says, well, look, it has Netflix and all that on there. It has to be
Right.
within,
That's a replacement.
What is?
That TV.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, there was a day you weren't here. We had an incident and
Oh, really?
yeah. We had to quickly go up and get another TV.
And then they said, don't tell Mike.
Well, anyway,
That's called a smart TV.
now what you do is you just talk into the thing and say, I want to watch Bassmasters weigh-in. And we had it on our TV all day long. We had a tournament all day long on there. You could, while you're working, just look up there and watch a little bit of it and then go back to work. And it was great.
Yeah, that's what everybody's telling each other while you're working.
Yeah.
When you go back to work.
Yeah.
All these guys on here right now are saying, that's all I did all day is I watched.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
I'll tell you what, it was
I mean-
on the TV, and when I couldn't see the TV,
George had
I had it on
phone.
my phone with me. If I was
Yeah.
back in the warehouse, I had it on my phone.
I wonder how
If
much
I was
work,
out in the aisles, I had it on my phone.
I wonder how much work actually got done today. And I was saying about the Olympics, how you don't even hear anything about the Olympics, but all we
That's
heard
because the elite season started.
all we heard about for the last 2 weeks is, man, Elite Series is starting. Oh, they're down in Florida. I can't wait, blah, blah, blah. I think it was a bigger launch than the Olympics were.
Well, I don't think the Olympics should have went up against the tournament season.
Yeah, I don't know.
Poor scheduling on their part.
So what do you got new for tackle?
For tournaments?
No. What did I say? Tournament talk?
Tournaments.
Tournament talk. Yeah. Tournament talk.
Well, one thing I found interesting was the Bassmaster Kayak Series at Lake Fork last week.
Oh, yeah.
I found that interesting. Now, that's not the same as the Kayak
There's 3 series. I
Bassmaster
learned
Open
about.
Series sponsored by Hobie. Apparently, there's 2 different Bassmaster series. And if there's not, I hope somebody corrects me. But anyways,
There's 3 series. There's the Bassmasters Hobie. Then there's another one. I think
there's
it's
the
called
KBF. I don't know. You're getting me off track.
And then there's a FLW one.
Whatever.
TBF, they call it.
What was interesting in this tournament, 5 fish limit. Now they go by inches. Okay. So they have a board and there's no way to cheat. They have a identifier that's unique to the day that has to be on the board, and you have to take a picture. They have to be able to see the mouth closed, the tail. I mean, there's been people who've tried to cheat, but people try to cheat at everything. So it's a very legit format. And this guy had 5 fish each day, so he had 10 fish for 201.75 inches. I mean, that's a nice average. Now, he was on Lake Fork, and I was really impressed with his pattern. He had it dialed down to standing timber, but the standing timber had to be adjacent to a certain water depth, and he caught his fish between trees that were approximately 4 feet apart on a jig. And I thought the presentation was just like dialed in. 1/2 ounce jig with a Strike King Rage Bug. Now, if you ever fished a Strike King Rage Bug on the back of a jig, be it a flipping jig or a swim jig, it's a nice chunky presentation, and you got a lot of kick. It goes together so well, but it's sizable.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, and he said the wind was the key. As soon as the wind slacked off, the bite slacked off. So that was interesting there. Of course, you can't get too much wind because you're in a kayak. If it gets too rough.
Mhm.
But these guys take on some fairly. We've had national kayak series on the river here in some pretty freaking bad conditions. These guys take on some pretty stout bad conditions, and they handle it.
And George, you've been talking about this kayak stuff now for a while, and the more I looked into it, the more it's impressive because they can't just fly up the lake like we can on our big bass boats. You
No.
think, in a way, because they have to really be committed to where they're at, you almost hone your skills in a little bit better, or what's your take on that?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I like the fact that these kayak tournaments allow these guys to launch at different areas of the lake. It's kind of a necessity. They'd all be bunched up. Now, Nick, some of these kayak tournaments allow trolling motors. So, like the BOS system or series for the Hobie Bass Open series, they're allowed to use trolling motors, and some of these guys have some really nice trolling motor setups with spot lock and the whole 9 yards. Matter of fact, you're probably not going to find a kayak today with the drop-in trolling motor, drops right through the hull. You're probably not going to find one without spot lock because
Crazy not to have it.
the most challenging thing in kayak fishing is, for those of you who haven't thought about this, you're in your boat. You have great boat control, and you make the perfect presentation under windy, nasty conditions. Good job. You're in your kayak. You get your kayak in position, and before you can even press the button on your bait caster, your kayak is like 4 feet away from where it was when you were ready to cast.
Yeah.
In bad conditions, because they're very light and they move around a lot. So, these guys have come up with, the Power Pole Micro, the various anchoring systems, and now the spot lock trolling motor. So, the technology and the more or less innovation, Mike.
Yeah.
The trolley anchor system, the Power Pole Micro. The Power Pole Micro changed the game for the better. And now this trolling motor situation. So these guys can make their presentations, and we're seeing it. We're seeing some really good catches.
Yeah.
I'm following it. I'm following all of them. I don't totally get the breakdown of the series, but I'm learning and I'm enjoying it. And it's another form of what I like about it, guys.
They still got to catch the fish. The thing about it is, everybody says, they're in kayaks, blah, blah, blah. 200 and what inches?
201.75.
You imagine fish. You imagine the average of fish there you're catching. They're catching those fish.
21-inch fish.
Yeah, they're catching those fish. They're catching those fish.
So,
and they're hardcore fishermen.
What I like about the kayak, the growth of the kayak, it's another avenue to expand our sport.
Yeah.
It's like the high school ranks. It's like the college ranks.
Sure.
And I don't care if it's a bass or an FLW, MLF, whatever it's called. I don't care who does it, as long as it's done well and it provides an opportunity.
And it's trickle down too. These tournaments are all trickle down to local too. So, it gives a local guy in any area opportunity to jump in tournaments. In their kayak
at any level.
And you can jump in it with your kayak and we got them around here that I think they're $50 entry fees, I think.
Oh, they're all over the place.
Man, they have a ball with them, and there's and I love it because it's a lot of guys who just got into fishing and they got kayaks and they were like, I can tournament fish. This is awesome. And it gives them a great learning opportunity and and another thing about tournament fishing is it makes you go to different bodies of water, and then you can be there with and pick the brains of guys that are there fishing also, and you learn just so much going to do this. And that's why I always said about tournament fishing was even at our club level, you just keep learning. You're always learning. You know,
Well,
you're always seeing something. You're always learning something.
At the club level, for example, since you went down that path, which I'm glad you opened that door. So at the club level, you know, they're draw style format. Most clubs are draw style format. So, you know, you're going to fish with different people.
Yeah.
And when you fish with different people, your learning curve is flattened out a little bit because you're seeing a lot of different solutions to the problem, or a lot of different techniques, a lot of different how-tos and why-tos.
Well, my first club
that's big.
My first club I joined was in 1989, and I never fished the Susquehanna Flats ever. And one of the guys that was in the club said, "Hey, you want to go down to the flats and practice for that tournament?" And I'm like, "Oh man, yeah, I don't even know where to start down there, but that'd be great. Let's go." And he took me down there, and we fished the whole day on the flats, and I was just blown away. I was never there before, and it was just so cool to be down there. I always wanted to go, and I was always afraid to go, and didn't really know where I was going, so I just stuck to whatever I was doing. You know, I just was kind of intimidated by it back then, and and since then, you know, we fished a tournament right after that. So I learned a lot more. And then the next year we fished 2 on there. And it was just, so, you know, it just makes you go to these different bodies of water and you learn so much. So absolutely, that's what you want to do. That's what's nice about these kayak things is it's all trickled down. And if they're having a tournament up on some, you know, Shikalimi Lake or something somewhere, it's an hour and 40 minutes from your house. You never go there. But there's a tournament there. You're going to go up and check it out. It might turn out to be one of the greatest lakes ever, and you'll learn so much up there.
And the other thing, guys, is for the average angler, you know, let's be honest, you know, to get in the elites, it's not cheap to do that. And I'm not saying kayaks are cheap either, the way they have some of these set up.
Right.
But it gives everybody an avenue to be able to afford to go do tournaments in some way.
Well, I've had a lot of people come in here and say, "Well, I just can't afford a boat. I really don't want a boat. I'm intimidated by a boat. But I got a kayak and I really like it. I really feel like this is my deal, you know." And these guys are sticks. You know, don't get me wrong. I mean, these guys can catch, flat out hammer them, and they catch a lot of fish. So, you know, people who don't feel intimidated or who are intimidated by bigger boats or don't have the money for bigger boats or don't have the vehicle to pull a boat, don't forget that. You can get a little thing and throw these kayaks right on the top of your roof of your car and go. They all do it. So it's definitely a little a lesser expensive way of going. But you can still learn a lot and you can still be deadly freaking serious about it. You know, there's a guy in here that just bought a trailer for his kayaks, and he has 2 of them, and he bought this cool trailer and he's tricking it out, and it was a special trailer. He ordered it a special way. And he's traveling to Wisconsin. Like he's took the next step. He started out local, did some local stuff. He went to the next level. Now he's doing this Hobie series, and they're going to go to Wisconsin. They're going to New York. He's going down to. He didn't make the Lake Fork or the first one down there, but he's going to the couple.
That might be a different series.
No, he's cherry picking a couple of them, and some of them he can't make, but they're going to have a Hobie one on the Susquehanna River again this year, a Hobie event. So. He's definitely that's
and
why.
From what you guys said last week, there's some big money in some of these winnings.
What was this? What were they saying now? 75,000.
Hold on, let me check my notes.
It's a big number.
Yeah,
I think it's
so. The Hobie Bass Open Series. Okay, the championship tournament is going to pay a total payout of $100K. Now the Hobie Bass.
No, $100K total.
That's what I said. Total payout.
Oh yeah,
of $100K.
Yeah.
Now the Hobie Bass Open Series is the tournament that fished here last year on the river.
Yeah. First place is 40,000.
First place is 45,000.
45,000. Yeah.
And then they go down to I think the top 8, 7 maybe. So I mean, yeah. That's a pretty good chunk of change.
Matty Wong, hammer dog, man. He catches him, national champ. He had a great day on that tournament.
Oh, you're talking about the elites?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the elites are at the St. John's River, which, they can fish St. John's, they can fish Lake George, they can lock through to a whole series of lakes. I mean, last year, when they had this tournament, roughly the same time of the year, maybe a little earlier, Gary Klaus, who owns Phoenix Boats, he tore him up for 2 days. He was running to Cypress Garden Lake 2 hours.
Yeah.
To get to that lake. Now, a lot of that's idle zones, manatee zones, no wake zones, canals.
Don't hurt the manatees.
But that lake that he was fishing is so shallow. It doesn't have a really big bass population, but it has a lot of big bass. And for 2 days, man, it carried him. And then the third day it got like today, bluebird sky, dead calm, clear water. It's only, the whole lake's only a couple feet deep. And
Killed him.
He should have did a 180.
Killed him.
But today they fished. No delays. Normally they have a fog delay in the morning, or some sort of a delay. It got into the 30s last night.
Ice on the docks.
And then today they had bluebird sky, no wind, post front, tough conditions. But these guys are the best of the best.
Our boy,
John Cruz.
Our boy.
He's leading
Johnny Cruz.
with 28 pounds.
God, what a bag, man.
He had an 8-pounder.
Yeah.
Bob Downey, who is, I believe he's in his second year now. 27.4. Stetson Blaylock. I think he's the guy they named the hat after.
Stetson.
Yeah, the Stetson hat was named after him.
Sure.
He has 22 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then Micah Frazier has 20 pounds, 4 ounces. Bill Lowen.
Yeah, Bill Lowen, man.
He has 20 pounds. So your top 5 are all 20 or more. And then Matty Wong, who is a rookie out of Hawaii, Honolulu, 1914. Matty Wong is your Federation Nation champion of last year. And he took his...
Living the dream.
Yeah, he took his... No, it's not called Living the Dream.
I call it Living the Dream.
He took his...
What's it called?
I don't know what it's called, but it's not called Living the Dream. That's MLF. He took his paid entry fees and all this other stuff that he got into the opens, and then accepted his bid into the elites.
Okay.
So they give you paid entry fees in the opens of your choice. They give you a boat to use.
Mm-hmm. Basically living a dream package.
Which was an interesting thing, because if you watched his weigh-in last year when he did all this, he had like a 1990 something Ranger with only one of the gas tanks worked.
363V.
Yeah.
It was his dad's friend's boat that he gave to him.
One flasher, something like that. It was black and white.
That's all you need.
And only 14-gallon tank because the other one didn't work. And he did it.
Sure.
Hey, it can happen.
I never saw a boat catch a fish yet.
Yeah,
it's true.
Absolutely.
GDP.
Yep.
Our guy. Our main man. 32nd place with 13-1. Now, 6th place is 1914. That's how tight it is.
Yeah.
From 6th to 32nd is 6 pounds and 13 ounces.
Yeah, I mean
that's one swing.
Our buddy
of the heavy-powered 7.2 Zodius flipping rod.
Well, on that point right there, our friend Damon Winters called up today, and he was looking for some stuff, and he pointed out that he said, tell your listeners, you said, when you're fishing a 2-day, a multiple day tournament, that you can't get down on yourself on day one when you're down, if you're down 6 pounds, 7 pounds, you just can't get down on yourself, because you could have a day the following day, things could click and you could turn around 180 degrees.
Well, first of all,
and he made a point to say, people get down on themselves so easy on tournament fishing, and it's really bad mentally. He said, that's part of the mental game of tournament fishing.
Yeah, but you and George have been saying something the last couple of weeks. I hope the listeners have been hearing. Is you keep saying about Florida.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it quite a few times. Florida's one of the most overrated places because the weather ain't right.
Yeah.
So George knows that one of these guys has 28 pounds today. Tomorrow, he might have a hard day.
Florida's not about it. Florida's not overrated. If you're a tournament angler, the thing you have to understand about January, February, and March in Florida is the effects of a cold front on a Florida strain bass. What I'm saying is very, very simple. Today was a very tough day. Look at the standings. Okay?
Yeah.
Look at the standings. Look what the local hammers did. Cliff Prince, 3 fish.
Yeah.
Okay? They call him the Prince of Palatka. The tournament's going out of Palatka. The guy's got thousands of days on that river system. Okay. The thing I'm saying about Florida, and I'll say it, and I mean, you should learn this. If you're going down to fish a tournament in Florida, you got to know when 13 pounds is good, and you have to produce 13 pounds. Today, 13 pounds was very good.
Yeah.
And 13.1, that's even a little better.
Yeah.
So you got to know when to pick up a spinning rod. You got to know when to either shaky head, as we saw. Mm-hmm. By the way, what did we see today? Here's what we saw. We saw the shaky head on shell bars on the main river.
Yep.
We saw wacky. We saw an 8-pounder get caught on a spinning rod.
Yeah.
I believe that was Micah Frazier.
Yeah.
Caught an 8-pounder on a spinning rod. We saw
Yo-Yo and a Spro Riku
not
shad.
a lot of moving baits.
Yo-Yo and a Spro Riku shad.
The Spro Riku shad was working. Brian knew.
19.9.
He had them just licking that Arashi, or they were licking on that Riku shad. But that's my point, Nick. And I've said it for many, many years in here.
George said that he has 200 shell bars he's going to fish.
He has 200 marked
shell
on the river.
Beds. He went and somehow found 200 shell beds, and he's just running those things.
Now, I
think his bite's only going to get better.
It's easy to graph those, but you got to confirm that they're shell. I mean, they're going to get real bright orange on your graph, but you still have to confirm, or if you have your side imaging on, they're going to get real hot, but you still have to confirm them. 200 of them? Yeah, don't tell me they don't work.
But
hard.
as I was watching that weigh-in, I couldn't help but think about what you guys said the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And some of these guys that didn't do well today, as the week goes on, they might, their bite might pick up.
That's just it. When you're a tournament angler, and you're a young tournament angler, like we are, where we're it's just, and this goes for all of us guys.
You're not young, Mike.
I am too.
Oh, okay, gray beard.
I'm young. What's the color of my beard have to do with anything? And
define young.
Somebody who thinks they're young.
Okay, that's good. You think
acts young.
You do act it.
Doesn't worry about age.
No.
Drinks a whole shit ton of beer.
That's what
parties like rock stars. Catches giant bass.
Hogs.
Not afraid to go out in any kind of inclement weather and catch giant smallies. That's young.
Point's been made.
Young at heart, baby. All right. So what was I saying?
How young you were.
Oh yeah. You're such an ass.
Young tournament angler.
I don't even like hanging out with him. If you really want to know, Nick, I don't even like him. I know, man.
Well, you know what? Somebody has
terrible.
on here, and
I love it.
You guys didn't really. What do you think about? I mean, it happens. What do you think about the return of Ike today? He really.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see him back.
I didn't quite understand his weigh-in. Took the fish and turned around backwards and mooned everybody and stuck this fish between his legs. I didn't quite understand that.
I didn't see that.
I really didn't understand that. And then he said, he hates Florida strain largemouth.
Well, I don't blame him on that one.
And then he ran off the stage screaming it.
Well, he
I
tried to
can't
take
stand-
the mic.
I can't stand
He tried to
Florida.
take the mic from.
I can't stand Florida
He
strain
almost
largemouths.
got in this fight with a big man.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do that.
No.
Especially a Canadian.
Well, they had a side bet.
Yeah.
So the side bet was to see if Mercer could make one of the rookies cry on his first day on stage. So they decided that the rookie that he had to make cry was Ike for the bet.
Oh, and that's why he slapped his hand. He slapped his hand and said, "Don't touch my mic."
Actually,
it
those
now.
guys are pretty good friends.
Yeah, I know they are. I know. And Ike was just having fun.
Yeah.
But
Well, let me tell you something about multiple day tournaments. And at the elite level, it's the ultimate level. You cannot win on day one, but you sure can lose on day one.
yeah. But he could come in with
Right?
30 pounds tomorrow and be in like the cut line. You can't rule him out. Even only weighing 14 ounces, which is what he weighed today. You can't rule him out because freaking Ike, he can go Ike on you and he can come in with 30 pounds.
Well, one thing I was listening to that weigh-in, they were all saying about the time they went out this morning and how important it was to them because some of them were making 2-hour drives
Right?
wherever they're going. So now I think the field reverses
It
or whatever.
flips.
So some of them guys might not be able to go to some of them areas that they went to today.
Well, first flight today weighed in at 5.
Okay.
Or
No, 330.
330. The
Last
last
flight was
12th
5.
flight weighed in at 5.
Yeah. So you gain a
So-
lot. Like the thing about GDP, he's going to be last flight tomorrow, so he'll be weighing in at 5.
More
He
time.
gets a lot more time in that when that sun's beating on that water.
Might be the best time.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
damn right.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
mean, I'd like to know how many big fish were
When the
caught
sun shines in
the last 2
Florida,
hours.
the big girls move up.
They do, man.
And they can move up quick. I was fishing a tournament on Lake Anna, and this is a great learning lesson. I found fish on main lake points. The channel swung in. I had 5 points. I called it the fingers. The channel swung in. I was Carolina rigging a lizard on the end of those points, and I was catching good fish. As a matter of fact, it was a long time ago, and I was really intimidated at the draw because I partnered up with a legend, Bill Barlow.
Bill
And
Barlow.
and he was a co-angler, and I drew him, and I was like really intimidated. And I said, I know you probably hear this, or you're like gonna bat your eyebrows, but I'm catching 4-pounders. That's my average. My average. I said I'm not catching a lot, but every one I catch is 4 pounds. And so we went out the next day, and we caught 4-pounders. I think I had 17 pounds. I don't think Bill filled his limit, but it doesn't matter. The point of my story is about noon, it was over. Okay. And I couldn't figure it out. I just kept going, rotating through these 5 points, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And when I got back into the house that night, one of my buddies that was rooming with me said, "Man," he said, "did you see me running that shoreline up on front of them points you were Carolina rigging?" I said, "No." He goes, "I got in there about 12 or 1. He said, "You should have seen all the giant fish cruising on that bank." So I found those fish the day before that tournament in the afternoon. And the next day at noon, so roughly 24 hours later, they went from pulling up on the points to going to the bank. And in Florida, it's even faster than that. It's the same thing if you're familiar with the North Country and you go up on a lake like Champlain in June. Mike had an experience in a big spawning bay. Matter of fact, it was him and GDP were fishing together.
Yeah.
And they thought this bay should have been full of spawning smallmouth, and they fished it, and it was like a couple fish.
It wasn't hardly anything there.
And then what? You guys went back.
Then we came back, like we went to this couple other spots once we figured out the pattern, caught some fish, and I said, let's go back to that spot, man. Because I think we caught one good one out of there. Let's go back to there again. We went back there again, and there was hundreds of them in there just swimming around, just hundreds of them. Schools of 10 at a time. They just swim around. Now they weren't set up yet like the other fish were, but they just were moving in. And
that's that point from staging
yeah,
to moving up to spawn.
yeah.
I saw it one time on a natural lake in Michigan where in the morning the fish were not where they should have been. They were where they were. And in the afternoon, they were where they should have been. They just moved up. And when they moved up, that water was crystal clear. There was beds everywhere. Every bed had 1 or 2 fish on it that afternoon. The wind was blowing 30 to 40, and we were just wind drifting. And we would wind drift right over top of a bed in like 4 foot of water. We would drop a drop shot rig on the bed, leave the bail open, float about 20 feet past it, flip the bail open, jerk it one time, and catch them every single time. Those fish are so aggressive when they move up, and that's how it is in Florida.
Yeah.
You know, after they've been up for a while, then that game's over.
Yeah.
Then the locals call them zombie bass. Once they've been up for a while, they get real special to bite.
Well, they go into a situation where they go try to lock down their spots and stuff. So they go in there and they beat everything up and they eat real crazy and they eat everything in their sight, you know, just to kind of lock their spot down. And then once they lock it down, then you're into that, like George says, zombie bass fishing.
I wanted to ask you guys something. So we're talking about a tournament. It's going to be a 4-day tournament total. 10 will make it the last day. But anyways, some of these guys are real happy going into tomorrow, and some of these guys are devastated going into tomorrow. You guys both fished multiple tournaments. What is the mental state, whether you're doing good, bad? What are you telling yourself going into tomorrow?
It's tough, man. When you have a bad tournament day one, it's really tough to stay motivated, you know, and that's what I was getting at earlier. I mean, you got to tell yourself, well, I mean, if you're in it or you're out of it. You know, if you're like Ike and Ellie with 14 ounces, it's going to be really hard for him to bounce back with that. Now, a guy like GDP who's in that mid pack range,
he's in the mix.
You know, when you're in the mix,
the cut's 47.
You know, I always pump myself up. I'm like, I'm only 6 pounds out of this, or I'm only like, whatever. I can go out and catch a 18-pound bag, or I can go out and catch a big bag, and it'll put me right back in it again. And I've been in that situation before where, it was like, man, I'm just on the bubble here. I need to catch this much weight. And I've gone out and done it. I've gone out and just kind of psyched myself up and done it. It's very, very hard though. Well, especially like at 9 o'clock in the morning when you go back out and you are there, you were fishing for 3 hours and you have a 12-incher in the box.
Well,
it's
again,
a mental game, bro.
Again, you're dealing with the uppermost level of the sport. You're dealing with guys that completely realize that on this particular body of water, any cast can yield a 6 to 8 pound fish. I was watching Hank Cherry this afternoon. He had a limit. He was methodically sticking to his game plan. He was actually working a combination of shell beds, shell bars, and docks on the main river. And, he was just doing his routine and big fish. Now, these guys that are,
that was like a 6-pounder, I think.
These guys that are below the cut line that are going into tomorrow, no matter how far below the cut line they are, particularly a veteran like Ike and Ellie, they are not down on themselves. They are not negative. They are refocused. They're re-rigged. Their boats are fueled, their batteries are charging, and they are putting together a game plan depending on how bad they are out of it. Like Ike is pretty bad out of it. So, he's a realist. He understands he's probably not making that cut, but the point difference between 49th and 50th is huge. Because remember what I said, you can't win a tournament on day one, but you can lose it. You can't win Angler of the Year on the first day of the first tournament, but you can lose it. How many times do these guys come down to 1 point or 2 points at the end of the year, well, that 1 point could be tomorrow. Okay. And a guy like Ike, he there's no question in his mind. He focused on that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the mentality of it. A guy like GDP, he's right where he needs to be. He's in the 50 cut, well, the 47 cut now. With
good question.
Within 6 pounds of 6th place. Okay, that's 1 bite. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. And
here's a guy, West Virginia fisherman, just got back from Florida, St. John's Headwaters, first time freshwater fishing down there. So much of the cover looks the same. How many times you hear this? So much of the cover looks the same. How do you pick it apart, and what do you look for this time of year to fish certain that type of stuff? That's an age-old question. It's like you get these bodies of water that's just loaded with cover. It's very hard to eliminate it, but you can easily eliminate it. A lot of it just by, especially around here where we're at, by just the side of the river that the sun hits first and heats up, especially early in the year like this.
Down in Florida, okay, the local says at the tackle shop, well, they're spawning on the pad stems. Okay.
Yeah, that's 30 some miles of it.
There's 300,000 acres of pads in the lake I'm fishing.
Yeah.
So as an angler, West Virginia fisherman, WV, you need to take and pay attention to the pads that you're fishing unsuccessfully. Are they close to the bank? Are they out from the bank? Do they have a mucky bottom, or is there a hard bottom nearby? Are they deeper or shallower? And you just keep eliminating. If that doesn't work, don't fish that again. Try
something else.
If you're fishing deep pads, try shallower pads.
Yeah.
If you're fishing outside pads, try inside pads.
Water temperature. Check your water this time of year. Check
if
your
you're
water
on
temperature.
The east side of the lake, go to the west side of the lake.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you're going to get a clue that's going to help eliminate a bunch of pads. And I'm just using pads as an example. My God, hydrilla. Those flats on those lakes are massive, and they say, oh,
Canals.
Go out and throw a lipless crankbait on the hydrilla. Yeah. Yo, dog, have you seen the hydrilla on this lake lately? It's like one hydrilla bed is 25 football fields.
Yeah.
Well, again, you have to really pay attention. You have to always be on the lookout for a clue. And then once you get that clue, then you basically make a decision. This is what I'm looking for. And you eliminate the rest of it because, West Virginia, man, you were only there for a week. You got to make some calls. You got to make some moves on day one, or else you're going to be in search mode for your whole freaking vacation. And that's kind of the way you pick apart cover. It's not so much finding the right spot. It's eliminating the wrong spots, because you can eliminate a lot more than you can find.
I talked to a guy today. They're going down to Florida next. They're leaving on Monday, going down for 10 days of fishing. They're going to fish 10 different lakes.
They're taking me with me on that trip.
And I said, that's probably the worst thing you could possibly do. And they're like, why would you say that? I said, because one day on a lake, you don't understand. You go down in that lake and you put the boat in. You can't even put the trolling motor down. You can't even turn the motor on without saying, "Man, that looks good right there. That looks good right there." Everything looks so good. It's going to take time to figure out the water. And that's the other thing. Time on the water in those places, man. It'll help you out a lot. So the second day you get better, start whacking them. The third day, all of a sudden you got a pattern.
And Mike, this too. Each one of those lakes, even though it's in Florida, is going to be in a totally different state of mind.
Totally.
Every fish.
Totally.
So day one, you figure out something.
Yeah.
What your brain's going to tell you to go to the next lake and do
the same thing.
And it might not work.
And that's a great point, Nick, because Florida's famous for, this lake is known for very clear water.
Yeah.
Whereas that lake is known for very tannic colored water.
Yeah.
Whereas this lake is deeper, whereas this lake is shallower. So, literally each lake fishes, like today on the Elite Series, a lot of these guys went to Rodman. What's interesting about Rodman, it's not affected by the tide. So it's a totally different fishery than the St. Johns River. Last weekend, I heard Zona say on live today, last weekend on Rodman, they had some team events that brought in multiple 30-plus pound bags.
Yeah.
So the fish are there. But, that's going to fish completely different than the river, right? On the river, they're fishing shell bars, which they like to crank, and they like to fish a jerkbait on. You don't really associate a jerkbait with Florida, but a jerkbait is big in Florida, especially this time of the year. Whereas in those lakes, you're fishing vegetation, right?
Yeah. Love a jerkbait.
Yeah. We did a couple shows on jerkbaits. You know what else is good during the spawning season, Mike? For searching. Maybe
Rattle
not
trap.
Yeah, but you know what else is good?
Square bill.
You know what else is good?
For searching? Swim baits.
I knew you'd say it. How about glide baits?
Yeah.
This is a great family of search baits for this time of the year when you are south in places like Florida or Georgia, pre-spawn, up and through the spawn. We're just starting to get into this. In the south, we're just starting to get into this as a major player. Oddly enough, the fall bite, this is also a great bait in the fall bite. And this year, in a lot of those southern reservoirs, the fall bite lasted up until not much more than about 6 weeks ago, because they had a very gradual fall. And the glide bait bite was spectacular. John Cruz and the guys at Missile Baits were fishing and sending me and Mike pictures and stats of 8, 9, 10-pound fish, 40-pound limits on the fall bite. Now, the same bait is so well designed for pre-spawn and spawn. So you can use these as search baits because these fish will show themselves. This is a Storm Arashi swimmer. And I'm going to put it up next to the glide. So the glide's a little bigger, and it's a single joint. The glide's going to have more of that, that wandering S-style swim, snaky swim. The swimmer's going to be a little tighter, doing the same thing with a little tighter turn. Mega Bass, of course, is in the mix there. These are very, very well-known glides. The iSlide series, the 135s up top, the 168. The 185s on the bottom, to give you a size reference.
That's the big thing with them is, you get to see a lot of fish in the area. That they call up a lot of fish. People don't really realize how much they call up fish. And
probably the most popular bang for your buck category is the S-Waver family. So you got your 120, you got your 168, and you got your 200. These are such great search baits. And then every now and again, you connect with a giant fish on them.
Oh, yeah. That's its bonus.
Jackal's pretty well known in that game, too, with their Gantrell and Gantrell Jr. Takes the glide to a bluegill profile. But what I liked about the segue here was talking about pre-spawn and spawn and West Virginia fishermen, how to find fish. I like that segue to this category. I kind of had this on my mind a little bit for tonight. These baits are excellent for finding groups of fish. A lot of times you'll see a fish roll on them. And then you catch that fish on another technique.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're big. A lot of times you'll catch a fish on these that's not that big. But every once in a while you'll tag up with a hog.
And George, I heard that a lot too, that like big fish will just follow this thing, and every once in a while you'll catch a huge bass that you never even caught before. But for the average person out there that hasn't used one yet, what kind of setup are you looking at here?
Well, first of all, you have to pick the bait by the forage. The classic last year, we had a ball watching Zaldane throwing a big 9-inch gizzard shad imitator. It had the profile of this gantrel, right? But it was bigger. And it was probably a 5-ounce bait, and he was throwing it on a big, like, mega bass alkalis rod, something big. 8 foot, 25-pound fluoro, 200 to 300 size reel. He was probably throwing a 300 size reel. That's for your bigger end of your spectrum. If you choose slightly smaller glides, like for example, the 168 S Waver is 1 5/8 ounce, so a little over almost 1 3/4 ounces. So you can throw that comfortably on a flipping stick. So you can get double duty out of your rods. This Arashi swimmer, which is a very good bait. It's not that big. It's 7 inches, 2 3/16. So you don't need a big rod to throw that, right? When you start getting into this bigger stuff here, like 2.5. What's this? 3 ounces. What is this thing? 3 1/8. You start getting into that, you need a little bit of a bigger rod. This 200 series is 3 3/8. So you get into that 3 ounce, you're going to need a little bit more rod. But you don't have to go crazy. You don't need a specialty swim bait rod. But my point is, between these and then 6 and 8 inch mag drafts, or other soft boot foot swim baits, you need to be throwing them in your pre-spawn through spawn months. They're extremely effective during those months. So you need to get up to speed.
You'll get bites on it. And it'll give, a nice thing about throwing it this time of year? You're going to get bites, you're going to get follows, and it's going to give you confidence.
It's addictive.
Because these things are, the worst thing with a swim bait, these big glide baits, is confidence. You don't have the confidence to throw it. This time of year, you're going to see a lot of fish with that. So make sure you.
I like a little bit of a longer rod on the bigger baits. I mean, I throw a little bit of a longer rod, like 7.5, just for leverage.
Yeah.
And a little bit bigger reel.
Yeah.
I don't go crazy though. I throw a 200 size, wide reel with 25-pound fluoro, and it works great.
And George, with your reel there, a lower gear ratio, higher gear ratio?
I mean, if I have my druthers, let's say I'm going to be in that 6:2 to 1 ratio. I really don't have a dedicated, big bait swim bait outfit. I really preach versatility. I want to see people get involved in glide baits and swim baits, and this is the time of year to start setting up for that. But I want to see them be able to have the versatility of what they already have, and then if they find out that this is a
cool thing
for them, then make that
we
jump.
We always say that, if you have a heavy flipping stick or a heavy action rod, just throw them on it. Get started with it.
You know what's so interesting? So guys around here might think, well, it ain't going to work around here. Let me just tell you, when you guys had your last show, I was talking to Gray Buck, who lives where?
Yeah.
in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he told me, he goes, Nick, on the glide baits, I've caught 8-pounders just last year
Yeah.
in this state.
Yeah.
They're here. They're going to eat these
Yeah.
things, and they're big ones are going to eat these baits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so we wanted to talk about that.
Throw them some,
Because of this tournament kind of led us down that pre-spawn spawn wormhole, which we're going to be talking a lot more about on every live for the next 2 months.
Okay.
So that's kind of where that's how we led there.
We got some questions, and I want you guys to give us some questions on what you want answered and what you want to talk about. We got a little bit of time here. We're going to go through some questions, and I got a question here from Connor McLaughlin.
What's he have to say?
He said, random question, got a medium heavy carbon rod. It's pretty stiff. Should I be concerned with it snapping?
May I?
Go ahead.
I think I have the key to this. So, Connor, here's the deal. Are you familiar with the term high sticking? If you're not, high sticking is when you have your fishing rod. I just happen to have one here, Connor. And you get in a situation, let's say you're landing a fish, and you get in a situation where your rod is at a very steep angle, like here. And that line is coming straight down to that big fish.
The closer the handle gets, this is high sticking. The closer the handle gets past, see my hand here?
You're putting a really hard angle on that rod.
Yeah. When you're here like this and your hand starts to go vertical,
that's a problem.
To negative, that's when the stuff starts happening. But that heavy action rod is never going to break if you keep it in the power range, which is your hand, more facing forward and not straight up and down, and definitely not back towards your head. When you start getting in this range and this range with the rod, in other words, the butt of the rod's down here and the tip of the rod's up that way. As soon as you go past straight up and down vertical, then you're at the mercy of a good
the other thing is, and you see this a lot on TV where these guys, wind their fish up to within 3 feet of their rod, and then they reach way up the rod, and the rod's up in the air, and the rod's bending on their hand. That's a great way to break your fishing rod. And a lot of what you see on TV landing fish is a great way to break your fishing rod. Reaching up the rod, taking and reaching your hand up the rod like this to swing a fish.
Not good.
Okay. Those are all bad things to do. If you want to swing a fish, you need to use momentum and proper rod angle, meaning no high stick. But yeah, your medium heavy to heavy carbon rod should last until it turns into a diamond. It's not going to break unless you break it.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Greg, or Dave has a Chiralo has a question for George. Do these swim baits work up north?
Extremely well. Extremely well, Dave. So one of the things that I like to do is, and I don't know where you're from, Dave, but if you have, for example, a reservoir or a lake where you live that they stock with trout for your state's trout season, that lake has bass in it that eat those trout. So if they're stocking 8-inch rainbow trout and 6-inch, well, if they stock 6-inch trout, your fishermen are going to be pissed. But if they're stocking 6 to 8-inch rainbow trout in your lake, those bass are eating them. So, 2 and 2 together, yes. Smallmouth, Dave. I know if you're a North guy, you're a smallmouth guy. Some of my biggest fish I caught last year Came on a 6-inch mag draft, 7-inch mag slow. Again, during that pre-spawn and spawn period. So, absolutely.
Johnny Rare Wernick, he definitely started swim bait fishing last year. And he came in and he bought a he was kind of throwing him around a little bit and his thing is if you don't have the right rod for a swim bait, you're going to lose fish on it. And he's exactly right. So he came in and bought the right rod and he's been catching here in right around where we're at. He's been catching some giant smallies and some giant bass on them. So it's definitely something you want to go Gomez. We got you, brother. We understand. Get well soon, pal. Thank you so much.
Go.
Okay, here's a question from Matt Leonard. A lot of your advice is for river, tidal water, big lakes. How do you change your approach to small local lakes like Pinchot, Marburg, Redmond, Speedwell, etc.?
I got a pretty simple answer for that, and it carries a lot of weight with it. Matt, that bass does not know he lives in Pinchot Lake. That same bass does not know he lives on, let's say, Lake Champlain. So, I mean, as far as the techniques, they're crossover. I mean, if you're fishing a technique on a weedy lake that's 10 times the size of your lake, that same exact principle and technique and guidelines will carry forth to your lake. The problem with fishing the same couple of lakes all the time is you really, I mean, if you could get one of those Men in Black eraser pens and snap it and completely eliminate your memory, you would catch a lot more fish because you wouldn't get caught up in, I always do this and then I always do that. If you truly fish the conditions and you take, if we talk about a chatterbait technique on the Potomac River, the Chesapeake Bay, Lake Champlain, I'm just thinking of big places. That same exact technique is going to work on your body of water. And I don't care if it's a little lake, like I'm familiar with Lake Redmond, Matt. A buddy of mine once put a 4-fish, 24-pound bag together on that lake back in the day. Now, you know what they say about back in the day. It was back in the day. But we were flipping with 20-pound line and, bulky jigs and 6-inch lizards up on the bank because that's what we did everywhere we went. So, I would say forget the fact that your body of water is small or big or medium. The technique is the technique. The bass is the bass.
And the other thing with that, because like you guys, I grew up fishing small lakes, and I think some of the problems that guys do on small lakes is, like George said, they fish history. They fish where they see guys that are successful fish because you get to see everything.
Yeah.
You can't hide anymore.
Right, exactly.
You need to start looking at things that aren't obvious.
Yep.
That point that produces all the time, it might get hammered 5 times in a day. So guess what? Don't go over there.
Yeah.
Go somewhere that's not getting hit. There might be structure over there that these fish are relating to. Use your imaging, if you have it, to your advantage. Find new things because it's there. Every lake has secrets that are not told yet.
Absolutely. What else we got here? What is the pre-spawn time frame here in the south central PA area? Well, you got the smallmouth spawn and you got the largemouth pre-spawn and spawn, and you got the smallmouth pre-spawn and spawn. And it's all based on temperature. I mean, that's really what it is. The problem with the smallmouth one is they go into a false, like a early false type of spawn, and temperature might warm up for a week or so, and then it'll relapse. So you got to be careful of that. But it's all based on temperature, and your big pre-spawn fish always move up earlier. So when you start seeing smallmouth temperatures like 47 to 49 degrees,
Well, it's when we talk about waves.
that's big. That's a big wave of smallies moving up, and
That'd be the pre-spawn.
and that's your big fish pre-spawn is the earlier temperature. So more on that 45-degree mark, you'll see big smallies moving up early. And I think the same thing with largemouth. I think when you're talking about 50, 55, you'll see those big fish moving up for pre-spawn. Spawning time, I mean, it's
tough.
It's kind of weird, man. It's
tough.
In the Northeast. The problem with the Northeast is
it's volatile.
It's so volatile. It's 2 weeks that triggers something, and then it's 2-3 weeks where it totally backs everything off to like 10, 12 degrees difference, and it messes things up. And that's why the spawn goes from March to end of June.
Yeah.
And just that's how long it goes. So it's very, very difficult, but it's always based on temperature. What do we always say? Always look at the temperature for a longer period of time.
Yeah, I like to look at the temperature in the morning. So if I'm fishing for multiple days or several days nearby, I look at the morning temperature, and then I look at the next day's morning temperature, because I'm going to obviously pick up temperature during the day, but I'm going to lose temperature at night.
Right.
Now, if I have a net gain the next morning,
right,
then I'm going in the right way. The other thing I like to look at is my full moon. So, I mean, theoretically, in the south central, southeast Pennsylvania world, if we get some kind of freakishly warm, March, April period, we could have a spawn wave of smallmouth on that first full moon. Probably not going to happen. Usually it's a very, very, very volatile time.
Yeah. But it could.
It could. It's happened.
Me and George were catching pre-spawn largemouth in the Conowinga pool up in a main creek. In a main creek off the river.
In February.
It was just odd. It was 80 degrees for
a peculiar day.
Several weeks, and it for a couple weeks, and it screwed everything all up, didn't it? It screwed that whole damn year up.
And I like to look at the calendar and get an idea on my full moon. And those fish will want to come up on that full moon. They'll want to come up 2 days before to 2 days after is when they want to come up. But if the other factors that Mother Nature has ingrained in them tell them no, then no. They'll back off. If you get a big freaking frosty, nasty cold front, they'll back off. And then those fish will hold those eggs until the next stable period. Now, they might spawn before the next moon. So basically around here, I mean, pre-spawn period's going to start the end of March, and the spawn's going to end by the middle to the end of June.
That's just the way it is.
And that's just how it is.
And there's so many factors. Mark is saying about, does high water change the spawn on the river? Absolutely. I mean, there's so many factors. There's water height, there's water clarity, there's temperature, there's moon phases, it's all this stuff together. And in the Northeast, it's tricky. It's very tricky. It's a very tricky time. I imagine all around it's tricky, anymore with the weather patterns we've been having.
You know what? It never hurts to keep the fish honest either.
Yeah.
I remember last year in one of the Upper Bay tournaments, it was early, and 95% of the anglers that were in the tournament thought it was pre-spawn. Little did they know there was a wave of spawners already up there, and guys at the weigh-in were going, well, I thought it was too early. Keep them fish honest. Go to them areas. What's it take you, 10 minutes to find out if they're there or not?
Yeah.
Keep your mind open.
Yeah, you do have to keep your mind open. Now, the farther north you go, and I think we touched on this earlier when we talked about the smallies moving up for you and Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Champlain, for example, I mean, the spawn starts there in June. Okay. That's when it gets started. And it's not uncommon for fish to be bedding there in on the 4th of July weekend. So, keep that in mind.
Yep.
And to Nick's point, if you think it's worth checking it out, then it's probably worth checking it out. And the same is true in reverse. If you think those spawners got pulled back and you're running all of the spawning areas and you're catching all buck bass, then look for a spot for them to pull back to where they originally staged. And you may have one of the best days you've had in a long time. I know I've had one. Remember me and Joey? Oh my God.
And you guys would probably say a lot. Just follow your gut sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It tells you something.
Oh yeah. Guaranteed. It's just a hard period of time. People think the spawn's real super simple. And it's not. It's a very complex time of the year, and it's so volatile that you have to fish with an open mind, like George is saying, and Nick. Just fish with an open mind, and fish shallow, fish deep, fish on the points, fish on the, what we always say, the secondary points. You always go. You hear that statement all the time. Secondary points are that's all that is it doesn't have to be like a big deep cove. It's just getting the fish out of the main channel and up into a pocket. They're going to get on that point first, and then they're going to go in that pocket and spawn. What's a fish stay on the bed? Couple hours. A big female spawns, and then they're there for a few hours, maybe 6-8 hours, and then they're off. And then the buck bass is there to take care of the bed.
Well, and
right?
It's interesting you're saying about, keep an open mind and all this stuff. You're seeing it play out right now in this tournament in the elites right now.
Oh, yeah.
Some of these guys are going after those shell beds that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because that's where the fish should be.
Staging areas.
Staging area.
Yeah.
Some of the guys are fishing the flats because that's where they should be.
Yeah.
If,
Spawning flats and canals.
Yeah.
The canals are their spawning. That's
Yep.
where they go to spawn. So they're trying to pick up those early fish that are coming in. And I'm telling you, the early ones,
dumb,
freaking stupid, and they're big. They're big. They come up, they establish their area. If you can get them right away, they establish their area by pushing and eating everything off their spot. That's what big, giant, dominant female bass do. They go in there, they push everything off their spot, and then they eat everything that hangs out.
Yeah, and I didn't watch it, but I don't know what's his name? John Cruz was fishing today, but he said that in practice, those size fish were not there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there's 28 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be one of those things where,
but, he called when he made that move in the afternoon to the river, and he must have went to something that was similar to what he was fishing and called a big one out. That's something. Yeah, he's on to something right there. That boy. He's good down there.
He always does good in Florida.
Good down there. Well, you got any more questions? Anybody have any more questions? This is the question and answers. I know George is long-winded tonight.
Well, I mean, I still have more to say. Well,
go ahead.
If you want me to filibuster a little bit here,
you got a couple minutes.
Well, there was a couple more key items that we got into this week that I was really excited about that people have been asking me about. I brought one up here for show and tell. This is the Cashion Bladed Jig Rod. It even says chatterbait on it.
I like that. That's a nice sticker. You can't screw that one up.
It says chatterbait right on it. The cool thing about this rod, this is their Icon series. Carbon grips. American tackle reel seat. Made in the USA.
Here. Put that flag up there.
Made in the USA.
You don't see that everywhere, Nick. Yep, right there, buddy. You don't see that everywhere.
Well, here's what I really like. Get a hold of that tip, Mike. You got that, Nick?
Got it.
So that is not an extra fast. That is a moderate fast. So that's a moderate fast. Don't worry, it was just a carp.
How'd that feel, George?
It was just a carp. That's a moderate fast. Look, they say moderate fast on it.
Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be.
7-1 moderate fast.
I like that action.
Really, and super light. And $199.99.
That's very affordable.
That is a very nice bladed jig rod. But that's also a great multi-purpose rod. So we got those back in stock, and I wanted to point that out. The other thing we got back in stock is 70 size Corrados. Now, this is a special reel right here. We've gone over this. We've done a complete breakdown. You can go into our archives and you can view that. We did a complete teardown, breakdown analysis. The 70 Corrado MGL series micro module gear back in stock in healthy quantities.
Healthy. Like that word, healthy.
Yeah, we did some aggressive ordering there. We got a pretty big shipment of Rains plastics and tungsten back in. And we talked earlier about some of the other baits.
Look, Mike McNamara.
Semi one.
What's up, Mike? How you doing, buddy? We can fill that bill for you. No problem, pal. Okay.
Josh Sawyer. Question for George, because he loves his electronics. What type of budget-friendly unit would you put on a John boat or Bass Raider style boat? And Josh, that's a great question.
Great
but
question.
Are we talking like, do you want forward imaging? Are you a live forward? Do you want to join the live forward universe? Or do you want to stay with, say, down imaging and or side imaging? Or do you want to really go budget? I'd like to thank my sponsor while I'm at it too. Miller Lite tonight. Sponsored by Scott Nemasek from AFCO. He picked up the tab on the 30-pack tonight. Yeah, $300 to $500, Josh. So I'm going to recommend that you go with a 5-inch Garmin Striker unit. And if you would like to call here at the shop tomorrow, I will go in detail with that on you and tell you what that's all about. In essence, you're getting GPS, no mapping, 2D, down imaging, and a 5-inch unit that will give you extremely accurate returns. And we can talk one-on-one on that.
George, I just want to say, actually, these beers they're not actually the same beers, because our buddy Greg stopped by and he dropped off some beers because we held some lures for him, and he was really appreciative of it.
Yeah, but they didn't survive the weekend.
That's what I'm saying. And he said, hey, I want you to drink these beers while the show's going on. So, Greg Plank, thank you so much for the beers. I know they were bottles, but
Greg,
but this is the same as drinking them, because it's the same amount of fluid in a can as in a bottle.
Still representing.
And it's
you know
still
what they say,
representing.
Greg? If you got the time,
we got
the beer.
Hey,
But
guys.
thank you so much, Greg. We appreciate that very
The
much.
problem is, Greg, when we get to Saturday night after a week in here, the boys have worked hard, and Saturdays are aggressive in here, in case any of you have ever stopped in.
Well,
And the crew needs to be
hydrated.
hydrated, and they hydrate well. And they hydrated all of
Well,
Greg's beer.
All we're saying is thank you so much, Greg. We appreciate that. You didn't have to do that, though, buddy. We'll do that. We'll do that anytime. You didn't have to do
Greg, you
but
didn't, but it does help.
it does bump you up on the list a little bit.
I mean, let's just face it, Mega Bass special colors are hard to come by. Hey, Greg. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Huh? Got me?
Guys, I'm really loving this question right here, because we
What do
don't
you got?
usually go over this one. What's new in the lose lineup?
Oh, we did go over this.
Gosh.
Well, yeah, I know.
We
but
went over
guy
this.
This
Yeah.
guy didn't hear this one.
We went over this time and time again.
Well, I've been a on again, off again Lose fan for a lot of years, and
Are you a closet Lose fan?
I just I got them. I got the old school. I got the old school, and then they came about with the new stuff, and I didn't really like it, and then now all of a sudden, the last several years they've been really pumping out some fantastic stuff, and it's legit, and it's legit in my mind, which is hard to do. I want longevity, I want performance, I want something that is easy to cast and holds up and does all this stuff, but the last couple of years they've done a lot, and this year with their rod lineup is I love it to death. Somebody finally out there in Lose, this is what happened. Lose bought Strike King.
Correctamundo.
So when that happened, and that'd be a good one right there to show. When that happened, it married the two companies together, and some brilliant individual, and I don't know who it was, decided to make a crankbait series of rods, and they made them and designed them with the help of their pro staff to follow their crankbaits. So in other words, a very popular crankbait on the market is the Strike King XD series. So you got the XD3, XD 5, XD6, XD8, XD, and the XD10.
And a lot of people would put the XD after the number, but you can do it either way.
I like to mix it up a little. That's just the way I roll.
I know who did it.
So
I knew who works there that did it.
Who?
Without a doubt, Matthew Hartwig. I guarantee you that he is the marketing man behind it.
It might have been. So if you have a doubt, if you ever doubted yourself on what rod to use for a specific bait, here it is. They have the whole series of rods. They have a 3XD, a 5XD, all the way through. I don't think we carry all of them.
Yeah, we carry every one of them.
We carry every one of them.
We just don't have the 3 in stock.
We were talking about maybe skipping a couple because they're kind of similar, but here it is. If you throw a lot of 5XDs,
what about the Signature Pro Series?
Well, yeah, I'm saying this is what I like about this company. Plus this, you see that? Look at this handle.
That's a wind grip.
Look at this freaking handle with this XD cranking thing on it.
That's a wind grip.
I mean, that's a badass handle. I'd buy it just for the handle, Nick. But I pick it up and it's the most light. It's superiorly light.
It's graphite crankbait rod.
It's a graphite crank, and
that's going to cross over for a lot of other features.
The taper is unbelievable. This 5XD, I throw a chatterbait on this in a heartbeat
all day long.
And
but what's cool about it too is like you go in your rod locker,
yeah,
and it tells you what you need.
It's right on the rod, and you can really.
Well, they also brought
really
out they also leveraged that pro staff from Strike King, and they created a Pro Series.
Yeah, which I really like. That
a whole series of spinning and casting rods that are, there's an Andy Montgomery skipping rod. There's a Mark Zona tube cracking rod, and etc.
Yeah,
etc. So you took this pro staff that Mike talked about, and you created a specific price point rod series, which covers it all. We stock all of them. Reel wise, I think the two of the most interesting reels in their lineup are like not their big name reels, but they have what they call the SLP platform, which is their super low profile, and they have the custom SLP, and then they have the Pro SLP with about a $100 price point difference. And the 7-to-1 ratio reel in that version with the line it's taken in per crank is so versatile. The custom, the more expensive one, has such a nice pinion gear in it. It has an oversized pinion gear in it. And I thought that was exciting.
Yeah.
As well. So
yeah, they just
Mike Bob, that's kind of Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, they just
give us a holler if you want to get into the nuts and the bolts
They just do everything great, and they're really surprising me and George. We keep saying, this company, we got to stick with it, and this is one of those companies. So, what do you got in the pipeline, George?
I got Keith Howard. He's down at the Redneck Riviera.
I saw that.
And you know what? They probably said, "Thank God our leader is back."
Yeah, they probably did.
I mean, from one redneck to another, Keith Howard,
you fit in. I bet you, man. They
probably brother.
They probably want to vote you in as mayor down there.
Enjoy, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great time down there, pal.
Hey, here's a question from me. George, I take notice he's back with his glasses on his head today, and it makes me have a question. George, somebody comes in here and they want a nice pair of glasses. What color lens is like a good?
That's a great question.
In between lens.
That's the greatest question you can ever ask.
Wonderful. Well, we're a Costa Pro shop. So Costa has 3 base lenses. They have a gray, they have a copper, and they have a sunrise yellow. And then on those base lenses, they put mirroring. So on the gray, you can get no mirror, silver mirror, or blue mirror. On the copper, you can get no mirror, silver mirror, or green mirror. And on the sunrise yellow, you can get silver mirror. That's the only way they make them. So what the mirroring does is it reflects light away from the eye. And why that's important is to answer your question specifically, the most versatile glass that you can buy is a copper base with either a silver or a green mirror. You will get different highlights from the 2 mirrors, but that's splitting hairs. The reason that's the most versatile lens is it's dark enough and that mirror reflects enough light away for a bright day, but it's light enough and that mirror enhances that light on a cloudy, overcast day. So there is your answer, cameraman Nick. And by the way, there's about 7 new frame styles, and we are fully stocked on Costa.
And I'll just say this, we all have a pair of really nice glasses, but I would say that if you're really serious about the sport, you should buy a pair of glasses every year till you have all the colors covered. Now you don't need all of them, but you need gray with for the high suns. You got the George tells you to buy the brown one or the copper one first. And then the last one is that, and it's totally underrated, is that the yellow. It's a highlight
sunrise.
It's a sunrise yellow. It's a highlight color lens. It's great for foggy mornings. It's great for riding in the morning when you're blasting off. It's great for rainy days when it's really super rainy out. It helps you because polarization works in overcast conditions. It does. Polarization works all the time.
There's always glare.
So there's always glare on the water, and you can just mix and match throughout the day. So it may take you 3 or 4 years to get the right glasses, and there's nothing wrong with that. But don't be afraid to buy more than one pair of glasses. And I think that a lot of people, they say, "Oh, I got my Costas, I'm good." Well, you got your Costas for this condition. Get your coaches for this condition, and get your Costas for that condition. And like I say, you can do it over a couple year period of time, and it doesn't kill the pocketbook. But they come in great cases. You can keep them in your boat, you can keep them in your truck, whatever. They don't get scratched up. They hold up well, and it's a good investment.
I don't know if you've seen this question here. What do you use if you have regular glasses?
Because I'm a
fit overs
right here. See what I got?
Cocoon fit overs.
If you can stand it, like I'm still standing, I'm still not totally completely blind, but I'm getting bad. Is I'm using just regular, and I just take them off, my glasses off, and I use regular ones. But they have, if you really need them and you're really really bad, they have, or if you just need okay, here's the deal. If you just need bifocals, like I have bifocals, Costa makes a bifocal lens. So you can get it in 1.5, 1.75, and 2.25 or 2.2 or whatever it is. So you can get different strengths on that. And it's a bifocal. So you have great polarization, and you got the bifocal for tying your knots, because that's where I get screwed up. I can see great enough to fish, but when it comes to tying knots, I get all messed up. So then if you have to wear your glasses, then you have the fit overs. And the
Cocoons.
Cocoons. Is that what they are?
Cocoons.
Cocoons. You have these.
They sponsor Ish Monroe.
Yeah. And then what they do is they fit over top of your glasses, and you can get them. They're pretty stylish anymore.
There's 5 different sizes of frame.
So you can get them for all different size glasses. I'm not there yet, but I'm probably getting there pretty soon. But they're really stylish too. They're not like,
well, Costa also makes what they call C mates.
That's what I said.
Oh, you did?
Where were you at?
I thought you were talking about prescription.
Where were you at?
I was so bored I wasn't listening. Yeah.
All right.
What he said.
That ends this show. No, yeah. So I got a question. So, George, how do you find fish when I'm not with you?
It's difficult. It's difficult.
That's right.
Usually,
That's right.
Usually I'm a little more efficient at it because I don't.
That's my question.
I don't have to listen to. Oh, let's go over there. Oh, let's go over there. Oh, let's go over there.
How in the hell do you find fish when I'm not with you? Don't happen.
Well, I'll tell you what. Last year, you and I fished a few tournaments together, and we did really well.
Yeah.
And I'm giving you all the props, bro. But guess what I got?
Shut up, stupid.
Half the money.
Shut up, stupid.
You can pay me to net.
All right. We're going to wind this down.
Well, no. I need 2 minutes.
All right. Hurry up. Get it over.
Whoa.
Get
You can't rush greatness. I want to talk to you all about a very serious problem that you may or may not be experiencing. It's the pike minnow infestation.
Pike minnow infestation. Where's that happening at?
Columbia and Snake Rivers out in Washington State. So you're probably not really dealing with it here.
Not really in on that.
So pike minnows are a fish. They get pretty big.
That the same ones they use down there in Florida for them?
No.
For them big bass?
No, those are golden shiners. Pike minnows are very voracious feeders upon the indigenous. And you know those people out there in Columbia and Snake River in Washington, I mean, they take their environment to a next level. And let me explain this level to you. They will pay you to catch pike minnows.
Really?
The highest paid person that participated in the program last year was paid $61,000.
Holy crap.
Damn
it, I'm in the wrong business again.
They are upping the bounty this year.
Jeez, oh man.
In 21, they had some weather down there, and it kept the
fishermen off.
The program down a little bit, and they only weighed in 89,600 pike minnows.
Good gosh.
But in 20, they had good weather, and they weighed in 103,100 pike minnows.
So how much is that per one minnow?
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
First of all, they're not minnows. They're anywhere from this size to this size.
Well, you said they're minnows.
They're called pike minnows.
Well, I'm just saying how much those minnows worth.
It's very misleading.
Those little bastards.
Well, I'm glad you asked. So for this year,
Kate says, I would legit quit my job.
They got some foul weather out there, Kate. As Mike would say, my baby ain't cut out for this. So the first 25 that you catch, they will pay you $6 a piece for.
Good gosh.
Now follow me here because it gets tricky.
For the first 25.
The next from fish number 26 to 200, they will pay you $8 a piece.
Holy crap, it goes up.
And then anything you bring in over 200, you get paid $10 a piece. Now that's
crap. So
2022.
That's 1,600.
Is there a check station?
200.
Yeah, you have to bring them in coolers to exactly
1,600.
that, a check station.
And then the first 25 is $6, so that's $140.
How many pecks are in a bushel? You
So
gonna hurry up here?
So, Mike, I told you I was going
$2,000.
to Florida next week.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go pike
You ain't kidding.
minnow fishing.
Holy, they must be hard as hell to catch. They must be hard as hell.
No,
to
they're
catch.
not. As a matter of fact, they really rack them up during the pike minnow spawning season.
Oh.
And the key area.
When's that, Nick?
The key area is where the two of these rivers intersect. I don't know if it's the Columbia and the Snake or a big intersection coming in.
$61,000 freaking dollars, bro.
My man fished 7 days a week. His wife fished with him.
Hell yeah, $61,000.
And
I get my kids out there too. $61,000.
And I thought you guys might enjoy a breakdown of the pike minnow infestation.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
See, Nick, you got Kate all fired up.
She's going with me.
She's
We're
ready to
going out
go,
there.
man. She's all ready to go.
What kind of rods do we need, George?
Well, you're only 3,000 miles away from the honey hole.
All right. Well, what do they cut? What do they? All right. If you're so prepared here, what's the bait of choice?
Live bait. Pike minnows are voracious eaters of other small fish, so they fish little minnows,
Little fat heads.
I don't know. The Snake River and the Columbia River, man, it's like
Little darters.
regulated. I think you got to do DNA testing on your bait just to make sure you don't
So our
screw
costs are
things
going
up.
up here.
You know what would be the best bait? Illegal native trout.
Rod and reel there.
Just saying.
The river keeper asked, it's rod and reel, river keeper. No nets.
No nets.
I'm taking an electric shock out there. I'll get them all.
Man, I'd be going out there
To the
with, like,
river keeper, if you Google this up, there's a great article on it. I get it off of a news feed that's fishing industry related that I get every day. And, they usually have fascinating stories about pike minnows and the Southern Ocean and, snore festivals like that. But this one was pretty good.
George, that's good stuff right there.
That's good stuff.
Listen.
Road trip.
I'm your roving reporter. People, I'm going to be bringing you the heat. Last week, I wasn't allowed to do my...
Hey, 1 second,
do it
George.
today
Where was
either.
that at? Where was that at? We got to go.
Colorado River.
So next week's show live from the Colorado River.
Last week's show, they didn't give me my 2 minutes, and I was going to tell you that
Look, Nick, $8.
they're not giving me that time this
$8.
week either, so I'm not going to tell you.
$8. Oh, there's a triple. There's $8.
Shut her down, boys.
$8. Well, don't forget Saturday. I hope to see everybody there. Saturday, 8
Getting sloppy at
a.m.
the end here.
Huh?
Getting sloppy at the end here. Shut her down.
What are you talking about?
Running long on the clock.
Yeah, I know. I'm shutting it down.
Shut her down.
You had your 2 freaking minutes.
I'm just letting you know.
I'm taking my 2 freaking minutes.
I'm just letting you know we're running long.
I know. I'm taking my 2 minutes.
Shut her down.
No, you shut her down. You can walk away. Take your headphones off. Nothing wrong with that. Saturday, 8 to 4, Smallmouth Saturday here at the shop. Come on in, listen to some great seminars, get some great buys, meet all the guys here. They're all going to be here. Joe Raymond, Jason Shea, Matt Green's going to be here. There's just a ton of people going to be here. Maggie Official's going to be here hanging out with us. So it's going to be a good time. Lots of great stuff going on. And maybe even some door prizes, which is what we always do. So stop on by. We appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by Tackle Shop Live. Until next time, good fishing, and thanks for stopping by.
Sunny day, right there you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair and your